Good morning. Good morning. I'm Karen Rasmussen, and I'm your affiliate minister, and I am so happy to be here this morning, whether you're here in the sanctuary or out there in YouTube Streamland or our friends up there in the balcony. Good morning. Albert Einstein once said, "If you're out to describe the truth, leave elegance to the tailor." We light this chalice for the truths of this life that aren't always elegant or simple or even particularly clear, for the messy, complicated truths found only in the context of honest conversation with all the messy, complicated people that we know, such as all of us, gathered by all that is holy to do the work of community together this morning. Welcome.
So that is 4 hands and 2 artists and 1 piano and 1 composition by Mozart that one might imagine is a piece of art created and perfected and birthed into the world whole and finished so long ago. What we know and what we welcome you to today is an experience of creativity that is not formed and finished, but that is given as a conversation to the generations to come. A conversation such that when Mozart wrote that piece, he did not so much as finish it as give it to us. and to the ages who would interpret and reinterpret it in our own time and our own artistry, such that the way you just heard that piece played by those four hands will never be heard in exactly the same fashion again. Welcome to this irreplaceable moment. Welcome to this moment, which time and history and the cumulative creativity of all the people before us have conspired to bring to us. Welcome to this time of worship and of community that we are so grateful to share right here at River Road Unitarian Universalist Congregation. And since we are participating in the Preaching Along the Potomac shared worship series with congregations around the DC region. For those of you who are right here in this room, for those of you who are gathered at home, for those of you sharing Unitarian Universalism in the community we create in so many ways, we are so grateful to be together. We are going to start by sharing our own gifts, a hymn that so many of you might know well, the gifts of the ages given and received, simple gifts. The lyrics will be right up there or on your screen. Please rise and sing together.
Tis a gift to be simple, tis a gift to be free, tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, to be in the valley of love and delight. And true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed, to turn, to be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right. 'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come, 'tis a gift, 'tis a gift. In the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight. When true simplicity is gained, to bow and to bend we shan't be ashamed. To turn will be our delight, till by turning, turning we come round right.
An Ethiopian folk tale about truth and falsehood and fire and water. Long, long ago, truth and falsehood, they lived in a great big house with fire and with water. I don't know, maybe it's like the Real World house or the Big Brother house. Really important, strong personalities jammed together in one space. They lived in that house. Truth and falsehood, fire and water. Now you might imagine there were some tensions. Truth and falsehood, they eyed each other warily across the opposite corners of the room. And fire and water, well, they found out really fast they did better when they kept their distance. Now one day, truth and falsehood, fire and water, they went out hunting together. They found this huge number of beautiful, perfect, free-running cattle, and they began driving them home together toward their village, the place that they shared, however awkwardly and however much with tension. Let us share these cattle equally, said Truth, as Truth often did as they traveled homeward across the grasslands. That is the fair way to divide things. No one disagreed for Truth except, can you guess? Like falsehood. Falsehood wanted more than their equal share and kept quiet about it for just a moment, thinking about the best way that falsehood could express themselves. As the 4 hunters traveled back to the village, falsehood went secretly to Water and whispered in her ear, "You are more powerful than fire. If you destroy fire, there will be more cattle for all of us. You are the mightier one." And so water flowed over fire. Water flowed so powerfully that fire eventually was gone. It meandered along then, water, cheerfully, carrying the message of its own great power along with it, thinking about all those cattle it would have to itself. Falsehood, meanwhile, whispered to truth, "Look, do you see for yourself? Do you see what water has done? Water has killed our sister fire, cruelly destroyed our warm-hearted friend. We, you and I, truth and falsehood, we alone must take the cattle up to graze in the mountains." And truth and falsehood traveled up the mountain. Water tried. It tried so hard to follow, to climb uphill, to fight those forces that hold it back. But the mountain was too steep, and water cannot then or now flow upwards. Water washed down upon itself. It splashed and it swirled along the rocks, unable to climb. It tumbled down the slope. Look and see, you can see it. Water tumbles down those slopes of the mountains to this day. Truth and falsehood, they arrived at the mountaintop. Falsehood turned to truth and said in a loud voice, "I am more powerful than you. You will be my servant. I am your master. The cattle belong to me." And truth rose up, struggling to be heard over the louder taunts of falsehood. I will not be your servant." And so the battle raged. Endlessly over day and night it raged, until finally the ancient story says they brought the argument to a third-party mediator, the wind, who came to decide indeed who was the servant, who the master, who the mighty, who the brave, who the subject, who the object. Wind didn't know who was mightier, truth or falsehood, and he blew all over the world to ask people whether truth or falsehood was more powerful. Some people said a single word of falsehood can completely destroy all truth. Others insisted, like a small candle in the dark, truth can change every situation. Finally, wind returned to the mountaintop and said, "I have seen that falsehood is very powerful, but it can only rule when truth stops trying, stops struggling to be heard. And so the conversation, even when it feels like a fight, must go on." And so even now, truth continues to speak. Sometimes in a shout and sometimes in a whisper. Sometimes it is hard to hear truth over the loud and even violent shouting of falsehood, which has always claimed too much of everything for itself. But speak she does, always finding a way to make herself known. And it has been so ever since. As we explore together the ways in which truth makes itself known in a shout or in a whisper, children and youth and teachers are invited to carry on into your classrooms. We'll be in room 32 for children and youth if you'd like to go. And we will reflect on just what it means, not only to speak truth, but to listen very, very carefully for the ways in which truth is speaking to us. We come together in community, not complete or finished or polished or whole, but a complex mess of contradictions and yearnings, joys and sorrows, hopes and prayers. In the congregations here gathered for this service, there are joys and concerns aplenty, people we love and have lost, transitions we didn't expect so soon, institutions morphing and shifting around us, all cast over the fascinating and sometimes heart-rending canvas of summer, with days so bright we go blinking into a world almost too beautiful to comprehend, and a heat so oppressive some among us struggle to survive. For this planet and her people, for the joys and the concerns that you hold in the silent sanctuary of your hearts, here in this place and around the region, I want to invite you, if you're moved to light a candle, you can do so here at River Road in the sanctuary at any time throughout the rest of the service. If you'd like to hold those joys and concerns quietly in your spirit, you're welcome to do so. For all of the complexities, for all the struggles, and for all the gifts of being us and being human in these days which are given to us.
Our prayer and meditation is adapted from Blues Without Music by Mark Bellatini and Wendy Fish. There are red rocks in the Gobi Desert. I will never see them. And blue waves near the Sakayes Islands, and I will never gaze upon them.
Songs are now being written in a cafe in Singapore that will never dance in my heart. Rice cakes handmade yesterday by grandmothers on the northernmost island of Japan will never cross my lips.
The earthy scent of the dark mushrooms growing in the forests of the Andes will never melt on my tongue. My feet will never walk over Super Bowl fields. My sigh will never be heard at the North Pole.
The world is mostly outside me. It's bigger than me. It's greater than me. It's unaware of me speaking here, and I will never know more than a millionth part of it. I am simply me.
And others are who they are, and together, each of us, small fragments of a great whole, we make the world.
But no one is really alone, even if we feel lonely. All of us are together, different, yet woven intricately into the whole.
Each one a facet of reality, no more. Each one important and no less.
Come, silence, and bless us with a sense of our own intrinsic worth, here in this place, where together we may grasp a part of the truth, but never all of it, and never altogether alone.
Ours is a community of such generosity where we do the hard but faithful work of building the beloved community together. To learn more about why we give of our financial treasure, you are invited to check out our website at rruuc.org. There you can find all kinds of information about our programs and partnerships and all the ways to connect to the mission and the vision of this community. You can also give right there on the main page by clicking the blue Give Online button. You can also text to give. The text to give number is 73256. Again, that's 73256. And be sure to add RRUUC in the amount that you would like to give. The number for the text to give is also on your screen and can be found on the website as well. Thank you for your gifts wherever you are donating from today. We appreciate your generosity. Thank you.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails our new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music ringing. It sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth it liveth. What though the darkness round me throws? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging, since love prevails in heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing? Keep from singing.
I've one more story for you about truth. This one comes from the great Jewish storyteller Penina Shram, who told a story once about truth, imagining that once upon a time, as stories go, truth was set free to run naked in the streets of a great city, weaving and dodging between people, dancing in the forgotten alleyways between buildings, moving fluidly and freely wherever it was that truth felt led to go. As the storyteller put it, truth's bare and free-floating presence in the world caused no scandal. Not even a raised eyebrow or two. Nobody wondered what all this weirdness was. No one, in fact, even looked. Instead, unconstrained truth generated nothing at all but glances in the other direction, says the storyteller. People who cross the street, perhaps, wondering if this dangerous, wafting thing was a little too unpredictable, wishing truth might come along in, a more orderly and perhaps well-contained presentation. Schramm's telling of the story says that nobody noticed stark, naked truth right in their midst until the folkloric character of Mar Mashal, which translates from the Hebrew storytelling tradition roughly as the parable person, decided to address truth directly by name. Truth, the parable person said, let me dress you up. People will like you so much better with beautiful clothes. Don't we like truth better when it's a little bit dressed up for us? Don't we tend to like an idea better when it's curated to look exactly how we want it to? Don't we like to take truth and pin it down or pin it up or make it fit into this world as we understand it already, and what we expect to see play out neatly into the narratives we're already telling ourselves about what is beautiful and what is real and what is true in our lives? Don't we like it better when truth looks polished and complete instead of unpredictable and strange? When an idea is elegant in its presentation and somehow fixed right there for us to tidily take in on our own terms. I wonder what it would take to unlearn this expectation that truth is a fixed and well-dressed, polished thing. To bear witness to truth, not pure and unchanging, but unfolding and incomplete. Right here, before us, even without bedecking it in bows and ribbons and narratives of our own absolution. I wonder what it would take to encounter not just truth, but a true idea fresh before us without trying to pin it down, letting it flow freely into a dance that never stops and that in fact includes us all, even when we are messy and unpolished and unpredictable and strange. It's safe to say that a reference to the truth, and I actually put the words "the truth" in bold in my script so I would make sure to say it really hardcore, like references to the truth are often calculated to be at the very core of our Unitarian Universalist faith. We liberal religious people somewhat righteously love to preach our reverence for the truth. Undimmed and unsullied by superstition or obligation or precedent, this is the very work that our proud Unitarian forebear A. Powell Davies called us to. In fact, he said this work of claiming truth was much of the point of doing this thing, participating in these beloved congregations of ours. Specifically, he wrote, in a way no one has ever been able to top since him, so clearly this call: you must seek the truth for yourself in the undimmed light of conscience, and wherever you find it, faithfully follow it. You must worship your God as you discover it in your own experience, the power of your growing thought, the voice of conscience, the revelation of beauty, and in all that fills the open heart, serve humankind wherever justice beckons you, or mercy calls, or simple tasks, or great. And in all these things, deal honestly with the best of your thought, never pretending that the false is true or the wrong is right. God, he's good. Never pretending that the false is true or the wrong is right. That is the endeavor of liberal religion. That is a part of our origin story. That's one of the original ideas baked into this thing we are doing. That is worth protecting, worth engaging, worth exploring, like a world-changing piece of music composed by Mozart long ago and interpreted and reinterpreted by artists of every age. That is a treasure worth handing down, and perhaps an idea that lasts, while much else must change. Now, I want to be clear that I truly do not pose this exploration of what lasts and what changes to apply in the limited realm of denominational identity and politics. I am not preaching that sermon today. I am not. Because honestly, those questions seem kind of small right now. I'm talking about bigger questions only fleetingly captured in things we made up, things like denominations and textbooks and wisdom tales. I'm talking about bigger questions about how we make meaning and form societies, ideas about what it means to be human and how we human beings are meant to relate to this world. I'm talking about conversations worth having, generation upon generation upon generation, just like that one piece of music is worth interpreting over and over again, generation upon generation, because it touches on something true about what beauty itself can mean in every age. I invite you not to ask, what does this denomination or this textbook or this story say, but what is the conversation that I and my people have been interpreting over and over again as a family, as a community, so that we might allow the truth to become a little bit more true, not because it was carved in stone, but because we were brave enough to keep having the conversation. You see, an idea once released into the world, it isn't fixed, it isn't done, it isn't closed, it is free, and it is unfolding right in front of us all the time. This is true when it comes to the ideas and the concepts and the cultural understandings and sacred texts that we hold most deeply to our core. And to illustrate that, I want to show you an image that delights me. And don't worry, you are not supposed to be able to read that. There is no such thing as a closed idea, said my beloved colleague, Rabbi Aaron Alexander, when we gathered up together as a group of clergy here in the DC area working for justice. He showed us this image and he said to us, there is no such thing as a closed idea. And to interpret that message, he showed us this picture, which is, in fact, a single page from his everyday working text of the Talmud. This is the actual book that my friend Rabbi Alexander sits with day after day, week after week, managing the ideas of generations in the form of a conversation between his heritage and his future and his people and himself. When you look at this amazing text, the Talmud, some of you may not know, is the central text of Rabbinic Judaism. It is the wellspring from which Jewish religious law arises. It is the text that on day-to-day basis Jewish life emerges from. It is the text that best captures that elusive and powerful thing we may understand as Jewishness itself. And this so happens to be a page from the Talmud discussing specifically what it means to teach Torah, Holy Scriptures, and what the heck the job of the rabbi is in the first place. This page of text, which you probably cannot read, it talks about what a person in my position is actually supposed to be doing. And when Rabbi Alexander showed me this page, this chaotic, glorious page of text and tradition, he started by pointing out the central column. You see just the very, very center of that Hebrew text? Just that one column, surrounded even in the printed edition, just that one column is the original text. Everything else is commentary upon commentary upon commentary upon commentary. There are 6 layers at least of the commentary not only of the entire Jewish tradition, but of Rabbi Alexander's father's notes, and Rabbi Alexander's notes on his father's notes, all culminating, as perhaps every great idea should, in the fine science of the post-it note, which surely fixes every great idea for the generations to come. This page stills my heart with wonder, because it is evidenced that every single idea lives at its fullest when it is engaged time after time, generation after generation. The truth is not a single fixed text squished into the center of a page. The truth, as it is known and practiced and useful in this world, is in the layers upon layers upon layers of interpretation and conversation and discourse and discernment shared by the people who come together over the span of generations. This is the truth, flitting freely between text and interpretation, changing with each era, yet retaining an essential relationship with the ideas at the core of the conversation. This is the truth, in this case, of what it means to be Jewish and what it means to teach within a Jewish religious tradition. There is no handy-dandy quote taken out of context. There is no proof text of some political point you wanted to backfill to use wisdom text to make. This is the conversation stretching out and continuing on. This, then, the process, the conversation, not just mostly the original idea. This is how the truth shows up in the world. Isn't it messy and isn't it beautiful? On the next page of Rabbi Alexander's Talmud, he showed me this, which is a copy, that little part in the bottom. It is a copy slipped between the leaves of a page from a Talmud that was handwritten in 1342. Again, that 1342 Talmud itself has layer upon layer upon layer of commentary already present when the scribe's pen hit the paper 100 years before the invention of the printing press, which brought all of its fixedness and its aura of finality to all the ideas it mass-produced ever since. This process of encountering and re-encountering the truth has been going on for a very, very long time. The Talmud, Rabbi Alexander said to me, is 800 years of conversation about what Judaism could be without a temple. It is 800 years of living conversation. There is no such thing as a closed idea. The sacred idea, the idea at the heart of a text, it was created and it was sent out in the world 800 years ago, not as a fixed truth to be taken and received, but as a set of ideas given the chance to move freely through 800 years of dancing and discerning and disputation and dialogue. And as Cliff, prophet that he is, our music director here at River Road, pointed out to me earlier this week, the most magical thing about this whole deal is that in 800 years of dialogue, nothing at all in the original truth of the idea got destroyed. The text remains. The original work of art goes on. The truth is not discarded with the evolution of the ideas within it. It is preserved in the ongoing conversation. This, then, is how truth shows up, going on for 800 years, for 1,000, for longer. This is the seminal work of Unitarian Universalism and of liberal religion, not in the passing on of the truth, but in the carrying on of the conversations that help that truth evolve. In his seminal work, Pedagogy of the Oppressed, Paulo Freire wrote, "Apart from inquiry, individuals cannot be truly human. Knowledge emerges only through the invention and reinvention, through restless, impatient, continuing, hopeful inquiry that human beings pursue in the world, and with each other." In this world, in this way, truth, it can't be contained and kept like a pet. The truth now and always leans forward rather than remaining static. And the people with the capacity to expand or develop the truth are the ones who hold that there is room for every great idea to live well past those who birthed it. As the A. Powell Davies admonition reminds us, we're supposed to seek the truth and follow where it leads. For truth, he preached, more than reverence, more even than faith, is the highest virtue of our tradition. You must seek the truth for yourself in the undimmed light of conscience, and wherever you find it, faithfully follow it. You must joyfully follow it, even when it refuses to stop and contain itself in the trappings in which you would prefer it. This, then, is the holy work, to take up the most vital ideas, the most beautiful ideas, the questions that will not let us go, the foundational truths our forebears birthed into this world, and to be brave enough to continue the conversation, adding layer upon layer of our own questioning, our own wisdom, our own fear. Our work, like those who came before us, is not the transmission, protection, and preening curation of every truth we have been handed, but the hopeful inquiry of generations, the marginal notes in which life leaps off the page. The truth is not ours to claim, nor to pass on. It is a conversation that's ours to engage in together, freely, willingly, knowing that every great idea, even the very best idea that I or you or any of us ever had, is part of a greater, holier, and more lasting conversation that we are so profoundly blessed to continue together. No one will ever again hear it exactly like you heard it today. And the next hands that play it will interpret it differently, and yet the beauty remains. What a blessing, and we are so grateful. Cliff and Schwei, thank you. Thank you. Our amazing trio of voices singing for us today, thank you, thank you. Of course, Reverend Karin, we have our whole tech crew at work here at River Road today, and I am almost certain there are a number of tech crews at various other congregations working on their own streaming and their own sound to bring this to you. We are grateful also for the relationships that connect Unitarian Universalists across the National Capital Region, streaming this service out across the Potomac Partnership right now, and for the fact that indeed and deeply we know we are not alone. There are so many ways to get connected in the life of your own congregation. Everyone's summer schedules are a little bit different, so I'm going to encourage everybody, including the River Roaders, look at your newsletters, we have our e-weekly, to get more information about what's happening in worship. Here at River Road, Reverend Amanda is coming back from sabbatical. We are delighted to also be sharing a remarkable lay-led service next week, but I also know that our colleagues and friends will be moving to the next wonderful location for Preaching Along the Potomac, which I believe is the UU congregation in Rockville next week. It is an exciting time to be together. Do check out ways that you can begin to get connected in the life of your congregation as we gear up for the fall, when indeed you know your calendar will already be busy if you don't start intentionally thinking about what would fill your spirit now. What a blessing it is to be each other's people. And so, as we prepare to take this light we have kindled out into the waiting world, may the truth that makes us free, the love that casts out fear, and the hope that never dies guide us and those we love and those we do not love forward together till the day spring breaks and the shadows flee away. Amen.